Antiheroes aren't noble. They're not clean. They're basically walking red flags with a tragic backstory and killer aim. They live in the messy gray zone of morality, the zone most of us secretly live in too. See, most stories want you to believe in heroes and villains, good versus evil, white hats, black hats, simple. But real life? Real life is gray sweatpants, missed therapy appointments, and questionable decisions at 2 a.m. That's where the antihero thrives. There's a concept in psychology called moral elasticity. It means your brain will happily stretch its ethical standards like an old pair of sweatpants if you emotionally relate to someone. Your brain goes, yeah, he burned down a whole town, but he just needs a hug, and a nap, and maybe a lobotomy, but still. It's why we watch Joel commit full-on war crimes and say, listen, he didn't want to kill 38 people in a hospital. It was just a Tuesday. We don't just excuse him, we rationalize him. We twist ourselves into logic pretzels because we care. It's empathy, hijacked by plot armor. Now, enter another fun psychological glitch. The just world fallacy. The belief that people get what they deserve. We want to believe that good things happen to good people. A comforting delusion. So when Joel does something awful, we go, well, he must have had a good reason, right? We can't accept that someone we root for can also be objectively terrible. And here's the kicker. We know Joel's actions aren't noble, but deep down, we get it. Because we're not perfect either. We've ghosted people. We've lied to protect someone. We've binge-watched a full show and told our partner, I haven't seen that episode yet. We get what it means to be selfish in the name of love. That's what makes Joel real. Perfect heroes, they don't mess up. They don't hesitate. They don't ugly cry while holding a broken watch. They feel fake, like Instagram influencers smiling through a mental breakdown. But Joel looks like someone who's been through hell and still holds the match. He's raw, he's broken, he's a mirror. And sometimes, seeing ourselves that clearly hurts in all the right ways. Player agency and emotional investment. Okay, now let's talk about when you're not just watching the anti-hero story, you're living it. In games like The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption 2, there's no good ending. There's no moral high ground. It's just swampy terrain and emotional trauma. The game doesn't say, do you want to pet the puppy or blow up the orphanage? No, it's more like, do you want to lie to your best friend or tell them the truth and watch them spiral into existential dread? You're not picking between good and evil. You're picking between bad and worse, with jazz music playing softly in the background. And at first, you're trying to be the good guy. You're like, I'm going to play this with integrity. But after 10 hours of moral quicksand and watching everyone you love die tragically, something breaks. Decision fatigue kicks in. You stop thinking like a rational human. You start thinking like, well, murdering that guy saved 5 minutes of sneaking, so... Your brain literally starts justifying things to protect your emotional investment. I had to stab him in the throat. He had a can of beans I needed. This isn't just game logic. This is cognitive dissonance in action. That lovely little brain glitch where your beliefs and your actions go to war. And instead of admitting you're wrong, you change the belief. You start thinking like the anti-hero, because you are the anti-hero. Now, remember that hospital scene in The Last of Us? Joel murders everyone between him and Ellie. Surgeons, guards, people who didn't even look up from their vending machine. Then he lies to her face. And we ride or die with him. Not because it's the right thing, but because we feel what he feels. We want to protect her too. That's the magic of player agency. You didn't just press buttons. You own the outcome. So you start saying things like, I mean, humanity was overrated anyway. Those doctors probably had insurance. It was a bad cure, okay? You're not just playing a character. You're confessing through them. You're saying, I know this is wrong, but I'd do it too. That's not just storytelling. That's self-awareness, with a side of bloodstained denial. Anti-heroes in a burned-out world. Here's the other reason we cling to anti-heroes. The world's on fire, like literally and metaphorically. And perfect heroes, they don't even log in anymore. The classic hero's journey, rise, fall, redemption, feels like a fairy tale we can't afford. Rent's due. Healthcare's a luxury. Your job ghosted you after promising, we're like a family. When everything around you is broken, do the right thing feels less like a guiding principle and more like a joke on a coffee mug. Joel, Kratos, Ellie, Arthur Morgan, they're not out here saving the world. They're trying to make it through Tuesday without dying or crying. They survive. They adapt. Sometimes they snap and light everything on fire, emotionally, physically, narratively. And yeah, we get it, because we've been that close to rage quitting real life. This is the era of the postmodern protagonist. Morally tangled, emotionally bruised, and trying to hold it together with duct tape and vengeance. Good guys don't wear white anymore. They wear bloodstains and guilt. The villains? Sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're CEOs. Sometimes they're you with no sleep and a hacked bank account. And the monsters? They don't live under your bed. They send you emails that start with, due to recent economic conditions. Antiheroes don't show us hope. They show us honesty. They say, look, doing the right thing might get you killed. And doing the wrong thing, sometimes it's the only way your people make it to morning. We don't want a cape. We want a hoodie with bloodstains and pockets full of meds. We don't want saviors. We want survivors. Because these days, getting out of bed and making it to midnight, that's your arc. That's your victory screen. We are the anti-hero. At some point, Joel stops being Joel. He starts being us. The part of us that's done pretending. The part that doesn't always pick the high road. Because the high road was blocked by a toll, emotional damage, and a sign that said, LOL good luck. He's the part of us that knows we've made some questionable decisions, and still got up the next day anyway. Antiheroes give us something we rarely see in fiction. Permission. Permission to be flawed, to break the rules, to protect what we love, even when it gets ugly. They don't give us easy answers. They ask the questions we've been too scared to say out loud. How far would you go to save someone you love? What do you do when the world doesn't care if you survive or not? When do the ends justify the emotional damage? Joel doesn't just fight clickers and soldiers. He fights grief, guilt, and love warped by fear. The kind of stuff you can't craft ammo for. And maybe the reason we relate to him is because some days we feel just as lost, just as broken, just as desperate to find something, anything, worth holding on to. He's not a role model, he's a reflection. And like any good reflection, sometimes it stares back at us and asks, you still think you're the good guy? And that question, that's the whole point. So the next time you catch yourself defending a character like Joel, mid-rant, mid-tear, mid-okay, but he had no choice, stop and ask yourself, what part of me do they remind me of? And be honest, is it the loyalty, the trauma, or the fact that you also start planning revenge when someone moves your things 2 inches to the left? Smash that like button if your brain feels 10% darker, but 20% more emotionally self-aware. Drop your favorite anti-hero in the comments, or confess your most Joel core moment. We listen, we don't judge, and hit subscribe if you're into ideas that stick, figures that sketch. Ready for your next system update? Tap here, and keep playing smart.